Back in the garage today. In the garage. Back in the garage. Back in the garage today. What's going on, guys? Back in the garage. Actually, no, this is my kitchen. Back in the kitchen today. And what we're going to go over today is how to keep your helmet looking fresh and smelling fresh. I just returned yesterday from a 5,000 plus mile motorcycle trip. All sorts of weather conditions, all sorts of dirt, all sorts of sweat inside this helmet, all sorts of things hitting it. And you know, we spend a lot of money on these helmets and we want to keep them comfortable and we want them to last as long as possible. So that's what I'm going to go over today. While I am working on my Shoei RF 1200, pretty much everything I go over will be applicable to any sort of helmet. Obviously, you want to check your manufacturer recommendations. I'm doing everything based off of Shoei's recommendations for the most part. So let's get to clean this thing up. All right, so to get started, we really only need a few items. Obviously, you need your helmet. I like using a microfiber towel, some woolite, or whatever you want to use. Just make sure it's a pH neutral, that is a neutral cleaner. I'll get into the matte finish spray here in a moment. A couple paper towels, and then either a sink, which we're going to use today, or you could use a bucket. All right, so I'm going to start out with the face shield. Now on the Shoei, you simply pull down here. This pops off, and then we'll flip it around to this side. It's got the quick release. We're going to pop the face shield off, and this is what we're going to clean first. Now in the case of my Shoei, it has a pen lock shield on the inside. So we're just going to get our fingers down underneath here and pop this off, so we've got two separate pieces of plastic, and I'm going to start on the pen lock. Now all we've got here is a sink with some warm water in it, a little bit of woolite, nice and sudsy. If we want, we can take our microfiber, and we just want to be careful, and all we're going to do is just wipe this thing down, get plenty of soapy water on it, and then we're just going to rinse it off to get all the soap off, and then we're going to let it dry for a little while. And I've got some paper towels set over here on the side, so I'm just going to set them on there. Same thing with our shield next now, or visor, whatever you want to call it. This is probably going to be a little bit dirtier, so it may require a little bit more scrubbing. Same sort of deal. We're just going to use the microfiber towel. Get all of the crap off of it. Make sure you don't miss cleaning on the inside too. We do get a lot of dust and stuff in there when you're out riding. And same sort of deal, we're going to rinse it off. Alright, so we're going to let those just air dry for right now, and we are going to move on to the outer shell. Now you have some options here. What I'm going to do in this case, because it's not too bad and I've got a little bit of time to work on it, is I'm going to use the microfiber towel with some soapy water on it and wipe down the exterior. If you want, you can use something, in this case, since this is a matte finish helmet, you can use a matte polish if you would like. If it's a glossy outside, you can use a glossy polish on it and clean it that way with a towel. That's totally acceptable. One spot where you want to be careful is in some of these vent areas. Shoei does not recommend using any of the polish in there, so just stick with soap and water. So I'm just going to hold this over top of the sink right now, wipe this down, and then I'm going to take a dry cloth and just wipe it off. Alright, so not totally dry. It's going to take a few minutes for it to totally air dry unless you want to keep working on it. Another thing you can do, if you've got dirt in some of the crevices here, you can take a small brush, like a toothbrush or something, and scrub that out. We're going to get to some of this fabric here in a few moments, but next we're going to move to the inside of the helmet. So next up, we're going to remove the liner out of the helmet. Now it's going to be a little bit different on certain helmets. This one has a click-in or snap-in style. Arai has a little bit different style. Everybody uses a little something different, but in the case of the Shoei, you can hear a snap there, there, and that one back there is already unsnapped. And then all we're going to do is pull this cheek pad out, and you can see I've got my speaker there for my headset. I'm going to flip the helmet, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. Get this one pulled out. You just want to be careful here if you've got wires and such running up inside there for a headset. Alright, so next we're going to move to the upper liner in the back. We've got a couple of snaps there. And this is kind of hard to explain because it kind of pushes in around the top part here. So you just want to be careful. You don't pull on it too hard because you don't want to tear it. You'll kind of feel it pull out of there. See these little tabs? And then we're just going to work our way around on each of these tabs. And now we've got our liner pulled out of the helmet. Now if we take a look inside the helmet, you can see we've got our EPS liner in here. That's our styrofoam liner. We do have some cloth bits around the bottom and also up here around the face area. You can't take these out. If you want, you can take a little bit of water and a rag, a little bit of soap, and get these cleaned up and looking pretty good, but they're gonna have to stay inside the helmet, and you don't wanna get this area in here, you don't wanna get a lot of moisture in here, so just be careful if you're working on this. We're gonna move on to the cheek pads and the headliner we just pulled out first though. I should note, if you want to wash this in the washing machine, you can. You've got to put it in a garment bag. You want to put it on delicate or gentle, whatever cycle you have, and you can wash them like that. Since I already have a sink full of water for when I'm cleaning up the visor, I like to do it by hand. So all we're going to do is place these down in the water, the soapy water, and we're going to let these soak for probably 3 or 4 minutes and just let them soak in really good, and then we'll come back and finish cleaning them up. Now while we're letting the cheek pads and headliners soak, if we want, and I've wrung a lot of the water out of this, what I like to do is just go around. It doesn't have much water in it. It doesn't have much soap in it, but just enough to get these things looking a little bit cleaner. Just take your time on them and make them smell a little bit better too. Now another thing you can clean on here, again, it's not removable, are the little pads here on your chin strap. It's a good idea to go ahead and clean those up with a towel as well, because obviously they're up against your neck and your face there quite a bit, and they can get a lot of oil and grease on them, especially if you're Italian like I am. All right, so these have been in here for a few minutes. What I like to do is just kind of add, if you see any spots that are soiled a little bit more than others, just work it with your hands a little bit. If you want, you can use the cloth and the rag. You just want to make sure the soap has gone in, to the fabric and the foam all the way. Make sure they're nice and clean. Like I said, if you see soiled areas, work those a little bit. Same thing on the headliner. And once we've got them good and soaked up and they've been soaking for a while, next thing we're going to do, we obviously need to rinse all of the soap back out. So I still like to use some warm water. We're going to rinse these, and we are going to squeeze them some while we're rinsing them because we want to get the soap out. Do not wring them. Don't wring them out, especially do not wring the headliner out. You can definitely disform it, I guess is the word I'm looking for, and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure this thing stays in good shape. So we're just going to run some water and rinse all the soap out of here. Now when you think you've got all of the soap out, give them one more good squeeze to get as much water out as you can, because we are going to have to air dry these, and that is going to take some time. And then obviously we're going to do the same exact thing with the other cheek pad and the headliner, and I'll show you what's next. So like I said, we're going to have to let the headliner and the cheek pads go ahead and air dry. In the meantime, we can take a dry microfiber towel and wipe down our face shield and pen lock, and then go ahead and put it back together. We're not going to put it back on the helmet yet, but at least we can get it reassembled and ready to go. So when it's time to put the liners back in, we're ready to put the entire helmet back together. Okay, so working with the pen lock shield, there is a little rubber gasket around there. We want that to go in this orientation up against our shield. We don't want to get any fingerprints on it, because then they'll be trapped between the two pieces of plastic. We just want to work to get this in place. And now we should have a good seal there, so that way we're not getting fog and stuff when we get into rain or colder temperatures. We're just going to set that aside. We're going to let this dry for a few hours, and then I'm going to come back and show you the reassembly. Okay, so fast forward several hours, and we now have a dry headliner, and we also have dry helmet liner. We also have dry cheek pads. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, we don't really want to clean the inside of this out. It is okay to take a damp cloth, especially around the chin bar area if you've got some areas of dirt. You just don't want to use any cleaning products in there aside from a wet cloth. So we're going to start with the helmet liner, and I'm just going to set it down in there. And then what I like to do is start with the front. So I'm going to get it lined up, and you can see it's going to be a little hard to see, but this kind of clips in place, and then all these little tabs clip down in. So we're going to work on that first. Okay, we've got everything in the front here all clipped in. Now, any wiring you have that needs to run under there, make sure it's run under. This is all going to go under the cheek pad. And then we simply have 2 snaps here in the back. Just make sure those snap into place, and we are done with the liner. Okay, so with the cheek pads up next, I'm going to start out on the easier side that doesn't have all the wires. I'm just going to kind of pop the chin strap through there. And then what I like to do is start out on the back. You see this little clip and this little round piece. Just want to get that down into place. You'll feel it kind of clip in there. And then we've got a similar situation up front here with this clip. And then we want to feed this ridge in right here. And then just make sure you'll kind of feel that click into place. And then we've got a couple of snaps we got to get in. One of them is right here where my left index finger and thumb are. Hear that one click. There's one up top here. Hear that one click. And then there's one more right up front. Hear that one click. We got the right cheek pad back into place. Now we're going to flip it over and work on the left one. Now, I've got some excess wiring here because, you know, I've got the headset on here. So what I have done is I've made a little clip here. Actually, I've made 2. I got to figure out which one. It just allows me to get the wiring and the cheek pad back in better without having to worry about pinching the wiring. So, same sort of deal. Pop in the back section first. Looks like that's where my wirings ran. And then I'm going to work this into place. Like that. And then of course we have the same 3 snaps on this side that we had on the other side. We get those snapped into place. Okay, so now at this point we're almost done, except we got to get our face shield back on. So once again we'll pull down on this little tab. It's hard to do like this. Get the shield clicked into place, make sure it snaps, and then pull down the tab on the other side, snap into place. Make sure it properly closes. So the only other thing you really have left to do is if you have a headset on here, make sure your speakers didn't move around, make sure your wires aren't in an area that's going to create a hot spot. Other than that, just put it back on your head and enjoy how fresh it smells and how good it feels. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. If you have any questions about the process I went over to clean this thing inside and out, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.